people had sent in cards and things, children wrote pictures and things, just...
I think as well, the family issue that you talked about, that's something that we sometimes don't recognise, how much to do more work to support families, because they do want to help. And that's where a lot of people go initially, to the friends and families, rather than just a really important point that about, especially if you're in a two-job family.
Yes. But it's an interesting debate that's had quite a lot actually about that, is that how much do you share with your loved one? And it's very individual. Some people do, some people don't.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be able to talk, but it's like people have said about protecting people as well. But it's important to have an outlet for that, and I think sometimes that's maybe where I see our service fits in. That there might be close family and friends that actually it's important for you to be able to talk about. So that's where reaching out to like a third party like us would give you that outlet.
First responders across the board, now there's still gaps there that we feel could be better.
You can speak honestly.
I think we're quite privileged in the fire service that we seem to, we have a lot more time than the other services to be able to focus on mental health. Thinking beforehand, one of the things that was coming up quite frequently is that the other services don't necessarily get the time, because they're so busy they don't get the time to actually be able to dedicate to looking at it.
Yeah, maybe a bit from ourselves as well. Perhaps we've got to go back into work at 12 o'clock on your day off. That's your precious time with your children, and
A moment like this, or even if it wasn't just the attrition of what you guys do on a day-to-day basis, your line management come along and say, well, actually, there's a enforced break, if you like, on the work you're doing for say 2 or 3 weeks, to decompress, to go and do something different, to take your mind away, to go and maybe do some mental health training or work, whatever it might be. Instead of you as an individual, put your hand up and say, I need help. Would that change the dynamic of the conversation here, do you think?
I think we stood ourselves down after the job.
I don't think there's the stigma that used to be surrounding mental health, service at all, really.
Because that's what I worry about, is if we're always relying on the individual to put their hand up and say, I need help, this is going to take an awfully long time to
People get
go
lost
through.
along the way and won't be captured.
You're supporting individuals and families at sometimes the most traumatic or the darkest times for them, and actually for you to witness that and part of that, you needed support yourselves.
I find that don't matter what they're dealing with, because everybody's, so the next job you might go to them, that's the most important thing in the world, so you've got to treat that what we...
Takes, I imagine,
So for me, I went off the day after, that day, and then the Prime Minister came on Tuesday, so I went back into that. And that was quite difficult to deal with, because I wanted to just be alone and deal with what process what I just dealt with the day before, 4 weeks. I tried to go back, it didn't work. I was sitting in the office feeling anxiety, which is not a common feeling for me in that setting, in my office, quite comfortable in my office. I felt anxious, my hands were sweating, my legs were shaking for no reason, being in the safety of my office, and I was seeing things that I normally see. So for example, there's always cake in a police office. There's always somebody's birthday or somebody's going to get up. It always happens. There was a sharp knife on top of the cake, and that really sent me. I was like, I can't deal with that. I can't get a knife, which is so irrational to me. But I went off immediately. I was paid, which helps. Not everyone has that privilege of getting paid when you got off. That was 3 out of 10. I'm still on half hours, and he's reassured me that it can stay that way as long as it needs to.
Time to decompress, because it's so important you have those moments.
Having met with families today, I can't underestimate what support you were and the lifeline you were for them in that.
How are they doing?
They're okay. They're managing it differently. All the families are so different, and individually too, they're managing it and processing this tragic event in very different ways, but they're getting, again, support, and I think being able to have opportunities to be able to speak to different people in the community about the experience and joining up together, just sharing their experience, I think is massively helpful. But yeah, I can't underestimate how grateful they on behalf of them, thank you.
True professionals, all of you. Hopefully I've said the right thing. Help is exactly. Anything we can do, we like hardwise and mental support, we'll look at. Come and get warm, guys. Come and get warm. You're freezing. Cups of tea needed for all of you, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Very nice to meet you guys. I'd love to meet you. How do you feel? Helicopter seats. It's shoving you in. What aircraft do you fly? What do you fly exactly? How long have you done the
Yeah. Well, let's come in.
They're used to
Who you guys were then? These guys see so much. It's got to go. And then we'll see the rest of the list. Thank you. See you later. I took you back maybe 10 years ago, show promotions and live now. We've met some tools and all the new language models.
Our vehicle's dropped out. But you don't have anything in that car, do you?
so when you're happy.
Good.
Yep. So if you don't mind just giving me your name and your job title, please, and any spelling of your name that might be a bit unusual.
So my name's Andy Rhodes, that's RHODES, and I work for the police nationally, supporting all the forces in the UK through the College of Policing to deliver really good mental health and wellbeing support for all the staff.
So what's the organisation called,
It's
please?
the National Police Wellbeing Service inside the College of Policing.
And what has it meant to you today and the people here that the Prince and Princess of Wales have visited?
Well, it's a fantastic boost for the staff that turned up on the day and are still dealing with the impact of supporting people in such an awful event such as this. And working across the blue light services, we do collaborate operationally, but we often don't do it enough in terms of the welfare of our staff. And the Royal Foundation, the Prince of Wales and Princess of Wales have been very supportive around recognising the efforts of these people, obviously drawn on his own experience when he did air ambulance, etc. So, you know, he's got an insight himself there in terms of what sort of experiences these frontline emergency service workers have.
And you hosted a discussion with the Prince and Princess of Wales and emergency services. What issues came up and what sort of questions were they asking?
Emotions are still very raw, but from all the people who attended, they're very strong characters. The type of support that they get in the immediate after effects of this, it sometimes can be patchy. Most of them are saying it was pretty good, but they're still suffering the impact of that. And we recognise that sometimes these things won't surface for years. And so we've got to get better at recognising the impact on our people so that they can do the best for victims of crime in the future. People are injured, you know, because they're out there morning, noon and night and they're seeing things every day. When an incident of this level happens, it's on a totally different level for them. And so we've got to be able to respond to do that. And they were spoke very powerfully about the impact on themselves and very positively about the social support they've got in work, you know, from their families and friends, and also the community. How the community is pulled together around this particular incident.
And obviously the Princess of Wales has been dealing with her own health issues. What has it meant particularly? What's been the significance of seeing her, you know, come out when she's still in recovery to speak to people today? Were they surprised?
Well, I think it's just an extra boost for them, you know, to see that people, despite all the challenges they've got, making the effort to come and see frontline people who are out there, often not feeling particularly recognised because, you know, it's a tough job to do. And some of the things that they were talking about today, I think they were very grateful for the way they had a very informal and supportive and empathetic conversation. So the empathy that was expressed by both the royals today, I think, you know, speaks volumes for the type of people they are and how much they care passionately about these workers.
And how were they expressing that empathy?
I think it's in the mannerisms, the way they hold a conversation, the eye contact they make with people. They spotted that a couple of people started to get quite upset at one point and they reached out to them and went to see them afterwards as well, which means a lot to people.
And going forward, you know, there's the involvement with the Royal Foundation. You know, what is the kind of commitment now in terms of looking after people who are involved in in that as well?
The Prince spoke very passionately to me about the fact that there needs to be better coordination nationally. There needs to be more consistency. So this should be a gold standard level of support for people who put themselves on the line in these types of incidents. And that's the goal of the Royal Foundation and Blue Light Together programme. That's our job. It's not an easy job, but to have the patronage of the Royals gives a huge boost to people on the front line.
Lovely. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
Thank you. If you don't mind, can you just identify yourself, your name, and it's there, but and your job title, please, for the tape?
I'm Phil Garrigan. I'm the Chief Fire Officer for Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service.
And what has it meant to you today that the Prince and Princess of Wales have been here to visit and speak to your staff?
Well, a huge amount, if I'm honest, and not necessarily for me personally, for the service a little bit and the other blue light responders, but most importantly for the staff who actually responded on the day. I think it's such a lovely thing for them to be thanked by the Prince and Princess of Wales, which is, you know, a real reflection of the empathy they show and the kind of focus that they've really got on the mental well-being of everyone, but particularly blue light responders.
And how are your staff after, obviously, what was the most awful event to respond to?
Yeah, look, they are coping. I think their focus, as you would imagine, is on the communities that were so deeply affected by the traumatic events in the first instance, and particularly the families. So, you know, I know that that's at the forefront of their minds, but their own mental well-being and how they cope with that is something for us as a service, and as I say, the other blue light responders to be really mindful of. They're okay. I mean, I went to meet them on the day of the tragic events in Southport, and you could see they were shell-shocked. You could see that was a really, really, really tough day, and something that you don't come to work to hope to ever experience. But they are coping. They were back in work the next day and the day after, and they've remained in work since, and they're really focused on serving the communities of Merseyside and particularly Southport.
And what did they want to sort of talk about with the Prince and Princess today?
I suppose just, you know, they were just very, very grateful that they'd come and to ask them how they were, and so they'd like to talk about, you know, how the services responded and how we've looked after them a little bit, and, you know, no doubt, and share their own personal experiences. You could see some from the reactions of all of the responders that, you know, to go back and replace some of the events, you know, is really, really difficult. But to know that you're cared for by your organisation, but you're cared for by the public, and in this case, you know, the Prince and Princess of Wales is just really, really reassuring for them that people noticed and people value their contribution every day.
What sort of reassurance were the Prince and Princess giving them?
Just that they cared. They were interested. They understood. They know how challenging to be part and a parcel of an emergency response can be, and that they were there for them, and they wanted, you know, me and people like me to make sure that we looked after them, and we looked after them not just in the immediacy of the events, but certainly, you know, in the longer term as well. So that's, you know, that was the focus, and that was the focus of the conversation, really.
And obviously the princesses have her own health issues and problems, and I think this is her first community event or community sort of visit that she's done since her illness. What did it mean particularly to you and to the fire service that she came along as well today?
Well, you know, in the nicest possible way, the Princess just broke from the group and followed the first responders back into the building to just give them all a hug. So that just says it all, really, doesn't it?
And how did she seem? Did she seem well?
She seemed as though she was really focused on the people who'd protected the communities of Southport on that particularly challenging day, and she was very much focused on them.
Is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you'd like to say or get across, really?
No, I think you've covered off most things, to be perfectly honest with you. So, yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
Thank you very much.